My 29F dad, 50 meters, got into a physical fight with my husband, 29 meters. They both refuse to say what happened. I've been married for 5 years, we have 2 kids. We live very close to my parents and other extended family. My dad and my husband haven't always gotten along perfectly. My dad didn't really approve of him at first, and my husband was offended and hurt, so they had a pretty tense relationship at first. But that eased up after the first year or so of marriage. They've actually on really good terms now. My dad had an errand in the city and invited my husband to go with him as an extra set of hands, which is normal and my husband seemed perfectly fine about. My husband could easily have said he was busy if he didn't want to go. They were supposed to get back Sunday morning. They were late getting home. My mom and I called and got nervous when neither of them answered their cells. They finally got home that night and my husband's face was visibly bruised and he had handprints on his upper arms, like someone with hands the same size/shape as my dad had grabbed him by the shoulders. My dad also had facial bruising/cuts and his right knuckles were bleeding. You know how they get when you punch someone. Neither of them are by nature violent types, but they're both pretty large men with tempers. It's obviously some sort of argument happened and it got physical. When my husband got home, I said, "WTF happened to your face?" and he evaded and basically to lay off and immediately went to bed. I assumed that he just had some sort of embarrassing injury or that he'd a minor fight with a random over something stupid that he just wasn't ready to talk about yet. Then I talked to my mom, who had basically just had the same conversation with my dad. After my husband woke up and I presented him with the evidence, he admitted that he and my dad had had a disagreement but refused to say what happened. Neither of their injuries are that bad. They both look a lot better today. But obviously they had a fight and are apparently still on bad terms. Though not such bad terms that they couldn't coordinate their stories, get themselves cleaned up, probably stall so they could get home late enough to be like, "Let's talk about it in the morning," and drive 4 hours home together. My mom was initially very pissed at my dad, which is typical, but then when I talked to her this morning she was like, "It's probably just testosterone. They'll figure it out," which is also typical. I don't think she knows much more than I do, she's just over it. If one of them had done something awful, the other would definitely rat them out. My leading theory is that they had a stupid argument that turned heated. But my husband refuses to tell me what happened, and unlike my mom I feel like I can't drop it. Like that's not something you can just blow off, right? Like this isn't a boys will be boys situation, right? Or should I just let it be? Too long didn't read. My husband and dad apparently had a physical fight. They refused to tell me, or my mom, what happened. Do you know what the errand was? If you think you know what it was, do you believe that? Might want to start there. This is super weird, and if my wife and mom came home from a random errand together looking like they'd been fighting, I'd get to the bottom of it. This is a serious trust issue now. 1. Oh, that's not normal. 2. I'm a little concerned/confused about your mom being so relaxed about it. Is that something your dad just does on the regular? Number 2. She was very irritated at first. It's not like my dad comes home every weekend like that, but he is a pretty physical person and this would not be the first time he's been in a fight or injured himself doing something dumb, so she was just like, "Why are you taking dumb risks? You're told old for this, stop it." But she definitely views certain things as his business, so I think once she finished being annoyed with him she just let it go. Oh my god, no, that's not a normal thing that you should just blow off. The absolute best case scenario is that they had an incredibly stupid argument. Afterwards both of them realized they acted like total dumbasses and apologized. And now they're both trying to do the honorable thing and not tell you about something stupid and hurtful the other one said in the heat of the moment. In which case they should tell you that's what's happening. Oh my god, no, that's not a normal thing that you should just blow off. Okay, thank you for this. I really was wondering whether my mom's reaction was the correct one and I was just being crazy. I think they are lying, and the errand in the city was most likely a confrontation with another person/people. If this were true, you'd think they could have come up with a better cover story than just refusing to say what happened. I don't think this is normal. and I think at least one of them needs to come clean. You mentioned you don't think the argument was about something super serious, since your dad and husband would rat the other out. That leads me to suspect that either the both of them were involved in something shady, and if your dad ratted out your husband would rat out your dad, or the argument was over something incredibly stupid. Both are bad. Emo. If it's the former, I'd want to know what it was, particularly if it impacted my marriage. If it's the latter, I'd also want to know, because I'd be concerned about spending time around folks who respond to stupid arguments with physical violence, especially if I had kids or am planning on having kids. 32F, my fiancé's 32M job is affecting our relationship. My fiancé I've been with for almost 9 years is in a firm where it's a very big boys club type scenario, and as a result there is a lot of guy jokes and basically a frat mentality there where they just constantly slander women, talk about their bodies and who they find hot and ugly. He brings it home with him sometimes too, and I've voiced it multiple times and he just dismissed me because he's joking. He has a group chat with them where they chat as they are sales guys, so they more often than not go out on the road and don't see each other all the time. They just hired a new secretary who flirted with him, allegedly. He had his phone on the dining table one night last week, and after he got up I was cleaning it, and in front of my eyes the boys' chat was getting messages, and one happened to pop up saying something about him fucking the secretary. I was really annoyed, so I admit I snooped further when he was not looking, and the chat was full of disgusting messages about her, but they were all egging him on to sleep with her and he was making comments about it too. I feel so disrespected and insecure about our relationship now. How do I approach this without telling him I read his texts? Too long didn't read. Fiancé works in a place with a shitty male-dominated culture and they are trying to get him to sleep with the secretary as a joke. I feel really bad for the secretary. Nobody at work respects her, and I imagine that it must make her job hellish. And it's pretty pathetic that your fiancé is contributing to that kind of environment by not discouraging these comments. He doesn't seem to have much character, and he certainly doesn't seem to have much respect for you or his female co-workers. Yeah, that kind of macho boys club culture is really toxic. Your fiancé wants to be included. Even he didn't adhere to their mentality at first. Looks like he is truly one of them now if he brings it home. You've been together for a long time. My guess is he takes you for granted and probably feels that he can keep dismissing your feelings by telling you he's joking. If you ask him about the texts, he'll give you the same answer. Try being as objective as you can about who he is today. Ask yourself, had you met him now, would you be attracted to him? Whatever the answer, you need to have a very serious discussion where you stress that his behavior is a deal breaker, but you are willing to work things out if you can come to a compromise. So, I personally find this concerning because, as far as I can tell from your post, he is okay with where he's working. Is that true? Does he complain about his workplace? Does he have plans to work there for some time and then exit elsewhere? Because it's one thing to find yourself in a toxic workplace, deciding to either change it, not participate in it, or exit it, but it's another thing to perpetuate it yourself and have no plans to find a healthier work environment. The fact that he can't compartmentalize between his work face and how he acts at home is concerning. The fact that he doesn't see your issues with his behavior as legitimate is also concerning. I think, generally, this kind of environment specifically attracts a certain kind of personality. What I mean by that is, you need to figure out did he choose this career path because he's a misogynist? Because if he's a misogynist, this stuff just gets worse when you're married. As for your actionable question, I feel so disrespected and insecure about our relationship now. How do I approach this without telling him I read his texts? Be honest. Following statement is entirely reasonable. I was cleaning the dining table and saw your phone go off. I saw a text about you fucking your secretary, so I opened your phone and skimmed your text messages. You owe me an explanation. There's a difference between I went through your phone unprovoked and found something and through chance I saw a concerning text and decided to take a look like any reasonable person would. From there, you really need to decide what you want. I'm surprised anyone would put up with this, honestly. The texts are disgusting, but it sounds like he's been making gross comments for a long time now, and passing them off as jokes when you call him out on it. If he's dismissed your concerns so far, then he's not gonna care about the texts either. He's going to say that they were just joking around and that he needs to act like this to fit in. He's not going to feel bad about what he said. He might even try to turn it around on you for reading his texts. This is who your fiancé is: a misogynistic man who works for an old boys club, a man who jokes about cheating on you, and a man who doesn't seem to care that his comments hurt you. Up to you how you handle it from here. The fact that your fiancé is not putting a stop to people encouraging to cheat on you is disgusting. How would he feel about your co-workers/girlfriends egging you on to have an affair on your partner with another dude? Your fiancé sounds like a pig. You deserve better. Screenshot the messages to keep as proof. You may need it. Confront him. Set boundaries, and if he steps out, move on, because you deserve better. My 28F best friend/roommate, 28F, keeps creating situations where I accidentally have to interact with my ex, 28M. I met both my best friend Amber, who is also my roommate, and my ex, James, at university. My ex and I dated for 5 years before breaking up. The breakup was 4 years ago. Amber switched jobs in June but didn't really tell me much about her new position originally. I found out in October that James is her boss since she accidentally left some work notes in my room and texted me to bring them to her because she was in an important work call and she needed them ASAP. When I gave them to her, she made a big show of making us say hello to each other. It was awkward, since I hadn't seen or spoken to him since we broke up. Other things she has done since are: she needed to drop some documents to a co-worker's house, and she asked me to drive her as she doesn't have a car and didn't want to take public transport for obvious reasons. I took her, and when we got there, she waved me over to say hi to him again. After that, I refused to drive again, so she asked him to come to our house to pick whatever she's giving to him. Unfortunately, he agreed. When he comes over, she always makes some excuse which forces me to open the door for him and have a few minutes of awkward conversation. She also accidentally added me to a group chat with him, and a few of his/her uni friends. I'm still in it because everyone started talking to me directly and now I feel guilty leaving. Yesterday, I finally had enough and told her to cut it out. She denied she was doing anything and claimed it was all a coincidence. I really don't think it is, but maybe I am looking too much into it. If you agree that she's doing this intentionally, please help me figure out how to get her to stop. Too long didn't read. Roommate keeps creating situations where I'm forced to interact with my ex/her boss and claims it's all just a coincidence. If she keeps doing this after you have told her to stop, then it's going to be time to find a new roommate. She denied she was doing anything and claimed it was all a coincidence. Then you tell her, well, fair warning, I don't want to talk to him. If you can't help me avoid talking to him, maybe we shouldn't be roommates. Tell her flat out, if you invite my ex over, warn me first, so I can either stay in my room or leave the place. If he is over, you are not to disturb me until he is gone. I don't see how you waving me over to say hi to him could be an accident, but you say it was. But from now on, I expect you to stop trying to hurt me and leave him out of my life.